Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tat Tvam Asi Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha, Nirvana Prakarana Purvārdha, Section 120, 7 Steps of Wisdom, Sapta Jnana Bhumikas. And this is the most highlighted teachings of the Gita and Yoga Vasistha. To enumerate them: Shubhecha, aspiration for attaining enlightenment. If you are developing qualifications for being a spiritual aspirant, Vivek, Vairagya, Shat Sampat, Mumukshutva. I'm just giving a quick touch on topics. Vivek, discriminative knowledge, separating the self from the not self. Vairagya, developing increasing detachment, dispassion towards the world of pravritti. Sat Sampat, serenity, Shama, Dhamma, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhan, and lastly, Mumukshutva, intense aspiration for attaining enlightenment. If you begin to develop these, if you have developed all these, then you have to practice sadhana. You become perfect. But when you start developing these in a with a sincere heart, then you have stepped into the first step, Shubhecha. This step leads you to Vicharana, constant inquiry into who am I. And as that step begins to perfect, or as you progress, Tanu Manasi, the mental impurities and distractions, mala and vikshepa, continue to burden your mind, and ego becomes more and more inflated. You see, when ego creates a terrible burden on your mind, then you are sthula manas. Sthula means mind is gaining abnormal obesity. Tanu Manasi, the mind is getting attenuated. And fourth step is Sattvapatti. Mind becomes free of egoism. Egoism turns into sattvic ego. Sattvic ego is transparent. Ego is there. But it is so transparent it doesn't obstruct your view of who am I. So unobstructed view to enlightenment becomes possible at this step. And then comes Asamsakti. You begin to develop detachment towards the world experience. The world experience is due to mental projection. Every day in your waking state, you face this world of countless factors, countless variations. The world that has no limit. But when you go to sleep, all this world moves away from you and you are not missing the world. That, if you reflect upon it, you gain a profound insight that even while you are in a wakeful state, even while you are facing the challenges in life, handling problems, dealing with practical realities, yet at a deeper level, you are absolutely peaceful, as if you were in deep sleep. And when you are developing this movement, then we call Asamsakti, 2 stages. Asamsakti, dream is viewed as dream, not as, you are not deluded by the dream. You dream, and your dream becomes a source of terrible pressure over your mind, because you don't know that the dream is unreal. But even while dreaming, a sense of unreality dawns. Then a wakeful movement has started. Similar state is called Asamsakti, leading to Padartha Bhavana. Padartha Bhavana, Padartha refers to matter. Abhavana, negation. Matter becomes myth. Another interpretation of Padartha Bhavana, the great utterance of Mahavakya, Tat Tvam Asi. When you go deep into the meaning of the mantra and begin to understand how your soul, Tat Tvam Asi, you view yourself as your soul, but the soul is in reality Brahman. Your soul is like a reflected sun, and therefore, as a reflected sun, you need to separate yourself from the jar, from the water, and assert, I am the sun. So, gaining deep insight into the padas, Tat Tvam Asi, that's called Padartha. It is a revelation that I am Brahman, I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect. And we are at this stage, and we continue with this Yoga Vasistha. As the impressions of the world are gradually effaced by the increasing experience of the bliss of self, a yogi is as if half awake and half asleep with regards to the realities of the world. It is an allegorical description. The message is not really to live in the world half asleep and half awake. That will make you stupid. Half asleep means you are closer to full sleep. Full sleep is asampragyat samadhi. It's the highest form of samadhi. And you are moving towards that samadhi state. The world seems to exist only in a dream process. And you have a deep, profound view that the world is Dirga Svapna, a long dream. The normal dream and the Jagrata state, waking state, both are dream. Normal dream is a short dream. The waking state is a long dream. Let me give you another way to look at it. Think of going to a cinema show. What do you expect? You expect to be entertained. If your mind is dull with, then your expectation is only in relation to terrible films that will give you shocking experiences of vampires hurting the neck of people and similar. Bhayankar, terrible dreams, terrible experiences. But if you begin to move in a positive way, the first stage, you expect a good cinema, a good show that leads you to comedy and joyous ending. So create in your life itself like a big show. Led by your lower self, the show becomes more and more terrible. So the first step, do not let this show, let your life be dominated by negativity. Let your life be dominated by sattvic activity. Sattvic activity will open every now and then the door to spiritual vision. Next point, so these points are there as you watch the first, to change the substance of the show. The second one, as the show is getting improved, consider your entire entertainment as a kind of a joyous excursion. It's a kind of Ananda Bihar. So Asamsakti state brings you that status. You live in the world, but all world experience is detached. You are like the sky, and the world experience is like swirling clouds, and we remain untouched, unaffected. The question of being affected doesn't arise. The sky has no problems. It will not receive any scratch. Then the yogi ascends the sixth stage, called Svasamvedana, which is same as Padartha Bhavana. Svasamvedana, Swa means self. Samvedana is anubhuti, direct experience of the self. All the while, your profoundest love is for the self. What is most pleasing for you? Your own self. But what is that self? That self is not a reflected sun stage shaking constantly, but jiva within you, which is like a reflected self, is essentially the sun, Brahman. Then the yogi ascends the sixth stage, called Svasamvedana. In this, there is experience of the bliss of the self. He becomes so engrossed in the bliss of the self that he enters into a deep sleep, as it were. As far as the realities of the world are concerned, all realities move away, just like you are in deep sleep. This is also known as a Padartha Bhavana, which is characterized by the cessation of the world process. Padartha Bhavana, to understand more profoundly, think of two stages of watching the show. First stage, you are involved with the show. But while being involved, you gradually begin to develop an insight that all that you see in the show, in reality, is the screen. The screen becomes everything, all detail, positive, negative. So underlying all your experiences, there is nothing but presence of God. If this point becomes clearer, it expresses in the form of Saranagati. You begin to surrender to God within you. But surrender that dissolves your ego, and it opens the door to identity. When ego is dissolved, you become united with God. It's allegorical language. You realize you are the same as God. You are Brahman, the Absolute. So that stage of lifting the show, moving the show away and revealing the screen, that stage is Padartha Bhavana. And next stage is Turiya, transcending three states that are experienced by you in day by day: waking, dream, deep sleep. This is the state of transcendental revelation of who am I. And Turiya, when it becomes mature, it's called Turiyatita. Mature state, you don't have the awareness that you have crossed through three stages, waking, dream, and deep sleep, to attain it. Those three stages don't exist. They never existed. They were due to Maya, the magical power of Brahman. Then that's called Turiyatita. So therefore, again let me enumerate the 7 steps. Shubhecha, Vicharana, Tanumanasi, Sattvapatti, Asamsakti, Padartha Bhavana, Turiya, And Turiya implies Turiyatita, transcending all. You attain enlightenment in the very fourth step, Tanu Manasi. No, rather fourth step, Sattvapatti. When Sattva dominates your mind and you cannot go backward. Turiya stage merges in the seventh stage. The seventh step, when it matures, it becomes Turiyatita, known as Mukti, liberation. This is the stage called Turiyatita, that which transcends even the fourth state of consciousness. In the state of Turiya, there is an awareness of the absence of the world process. But in Turiyatita, even this awareness is engulfed in the blazing radiance of the self. These are all subtle descriptions. The difference is, one stage, you wake up from your dream and you are still having a little memory of your dream, that I have been a horrible dream and now I'm awake. But then you get busy and your dream is not remembered forever. You may remember it, but that may be a kind of a leela. That's a fun. Of these 7 stages, the first 3 belong to waking consciousness. The 4th belongs to dream consciousness. And the 5th is characterized by sleep consciousness. This is an allegorical description. Waking, dream, and sleep. This is a negative movement. Waking is plus. Just like, let me give you an algebraical way of saying, if waking state is -1, dream state is -2, sleep state is -3. But the positive counterparts of -1, -2, -3 is +1, +1, +2, +3. And then comes the transcendental. Section 121. 2 types of mental attitudes, 2 types of bhavana or drishti. One is jnana drishti, another is moha drishti. When you have jnana drishti, all is Brahman. Jnana drishti is promoted by Brahma bhavana. I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect. I am Satchidananda. This movement is Brahma bhavana, and it is same as jnana drishti. And turn the opposite way. I am the body, I am the mind, I am such a good person, and I am progressing in the world. How wonderful is his future for me. And the world is becoming better and progressive and so forth. I'm joking a little. So this movement is moha drishti. And you must move away from moha drishti and allow jnana drishti to develop. Moha drishti is movement in darkness, and jnana drishti, enlightenment, movement towards light, from darkness to light. As long as the soul, under the influence of ignorance, is driven by desires for the objects of the world, so long it is called a jiva, an individual soul. But when vivek buddhi brings about the absolution of desires, when vivek begins to progress, it is same as unfoldment of your jnana drishti. The more effective is your discriminative reflection. I am the self. And your mind is profoundly spiritually sensitive. Then your desires for worldly objects, the desires for eat, drink, be merry, these desires begin to dissolve. And a subtle revelation begin to occur that the real me, the real I am, is the sun. I am not the jiva like a reflected sun based upon the contents of the mind, but I am transcendental reality. I am Brahman. So that which allows you to move away from jivahood and to discover your identity as Shivahood, that type of understanding that leads you from the state of jiva identity to Shiva identity. That's called jnana drishti. Let me explain to you two types of attitudes. One type intensifies bondage, while the other leads to liberation. Moha drishti is also known as mamata. These relatives, wife, husband, son, brother, sister, father, mother, etc. are mine, and I belong to them. This attitude continues to degrade the soul. Moha drishti radiates from ahamata and mamata, illusion of the ego. I am this personality. Instead of I am the ego. It's called ahamkar. Your I am has entered into a car, a carro. And that ahamkar is constantly in a state of agitation. And that ahamkar movement is moha movement, moha drishti. Led by ahamkar, that develops mamata, ahamta, egoism. The more egoism, greater is mamata, the greater dependence on people around you, your near and dear ones. And you never know who is the near one and who is the dear one. Your dear ones are like running deer in the forest. And jnana drishti, I do not belong to the relatives, nor do they belong to me. All this is Brahmamayam Jagat. The world is nothing but Brahman, the Absolute. In your dream, you are in a very cozy set of loving people around you. But the reality, those loving people don't belong to you. You don't belong to them. The real you expresses in the form of everything in your dream. Even a dream particle of matter is your own consciousness. So this entire universe and all that you experience in the terms of time, space, causation, all this is nothing but Brahman. In a devotional language, all this is permeated by God. Rom Rom mein Ram Rama hai. In every particle of your body, in every pore of your body, Rama is abiding, creating thrill. Kan kan mein ghan shyam basa hai. In every particle of matter is permeated by Radha Krishna. And go further up, all this is nothing but Brahman. And that Brahman is I am. So I am all this. Ahame Vedam Sarvam. This movement is called Jnana Drishti. O King, take refuge in the self, shining by its own light, and view this world as the ether of pure consciousness. All objects of the experience, all the objects that you experience, even the sun you are experiencing is not self-effulgent. Self-effulgent means you don't need the support of mind, intellect, ego. A reflected sun depends upon everything that is illumined by the sun. But all illuminations of the sun are in the realm of illusion. In other words, the sun and the illuminations are never separate. Every illumination depends upon something, but the sun does not depend upon anything. So that state is called self-effulgent. Sun is self-effulgent, but reflections, etc., are not so. And that revelation that I am the sun, that's the goal of Jnana Drishti. O King, Manu is teaching Ikshvaku, take refuge in the self, shining by its own light, and view this world as the ether of pure consciousness. The moment you do so, you will cross over the ocean of the world process. One should develop the attitude, I am the consciousness that underlies and operates even through the greatest of deities, Vishnu, Indra, Brahma, and others. I am the reality behind all that has been created. And that points to your progressive movement in being united with God. God in the beginning is Sagun Sakar. As Sagun Sakar, your mind goes on worshipping countless gods, Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva, Devis, and countless sages and saints. But as you advance, that God becomes Saguna Nirakar. You have form of God, but your understanding remains profound. Whether you are meditating on Shiva, Rama, Krishna, you don't go into diversity, but you see all of them nothing but the same Satchidananda. And the Satchidananda is your own essential nature. And finally, you emerge as Nirgun Nirakar. The Nirgun Nirakar, speaking allegorically, is million times greater than Sagun Nirakar. And Sagun Nirakar is million times greater than Sagun Sakar. These are subtle, profound insights, and we will continue next time. Om. Om. Ram, Ram, Ram. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om. Prayer for shower of Karuna, rest grace of God over all of you, with the blessings of Shakti, Bhakti and Mukti. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukum Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Tat Tvam.